We specialise in protecting, preserving and growing your wealth. Blacktower Financial Management, the team you want by your side. Visit blacktowerfm.com.
18th of October already, and happy to welcome back Christina Brady from Blacktower Financial Management. Normally when we get into this, I don't do all the how are you, redundant intimacy, we call it, but I will ask how you're doing because not been too well, bless you. Good morning.
No, I haven't been too well the last 3 weeks.
Well, it must have
I'm
been.
still slightly deaf.
Yeah.
So,
you got all that because you made the mistake of going to the UK on business and then coming back and bringing something nasty with you by the sounds of it.
Yep, and it's taken a while to shake off. Still there. Had antibiotics and everything, but still a little bit hard of hearing, to say the least. It's driving my husband mad.
You haven't had the cough with it because I had that, and it's.
No.
Oh, that's all right. That's really annoying for everybody else. And
no, just fever and that sort of thing, but no cough really.
Well, I'm glad you're on the mend. It must have been serious to miss doing your little slot on the radio here with me.
I know. Well, one time I'd lost my voice, and the next time I was literally completely deaf, so I couldn't have heard you even with this earpiece stuffed in my ear. I couldn't have heard you. So.
Oh, jeez. Well, as long as you're on the road to recovery, by the sounds of it, and obviously you'll have been doing some bits, obviously keeping an eye on things and doing some work from home. So let's catch up. Where were we? How many chancellors ago did we last speak to you? Was it one or two?
12.
Yeah, 2 or 3. So all that going on at the moment, and it was pretty much U-turning on everything from that mini budget I think had come up.
That was one I was off. Now that's all gone.
Yeah, and it had to sort of, when they sort of withdrew all of that and did the U-turn on it, did have a reasonable impact, especially on the exchange rate. That's up to 115 something now.
Yeah, I think yesterday it hit over 116. It's just down slightly this morning, 115.22, and the FTSE. Well, it's up 1%. It's at 6,993 at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying that the markets are pleased that Hunt has killed, they're calling it Trussonomics by ripping up the mini budget. But it's not all good news because Jeremy Hunt has obviously said that he's got to find money, and he's hinted that he may not restore the triple lock to state pensions. If you remember, Boris got rid of the triple lock and made it a double lock. And then every other Conservative said, right, next year it will come back, you'll get your triple lock. So it's expected the state pensions will rise by at least 8%. Jeremy Hunt has now said that he may not be able to do that, so we'll have to wait and see. And also there was meant to be a cap on elderly care costs, and this could be a risk as well. So that will have a big impact on retired people and the elderly in the UK.
So that triple lock, just remind us, that gives you the best out of 3, if you like.
Yes,
the highest
it does.
amount.
You get the main thing is inflation at the moment. Before it didn't really matter, but now obviously with inflation going so high, it is really, really important. So what it means, the state pension must rise in line with the highest of 3 possible figures. Yeah. So that is inflation, average earnings, or 2.5%.
Okay. That's where we're at. And with the rise in interest rates, is that being passed on? Are savers seeing any benefit?
No.
No. It's taking its time anyway, at least.
Not really. Savers in the UK are getting slightly better deals, but Santander has just removed their best deal. So it's really hit and miss. And in the Eurozone, we've seen no real increase in deposit rates for money at all. So, and if you are in the Eurozone and you have sterling and you want to place it in a deposit account in the UK, unless you already have an account open with that bank, I'm afraid you can't, because they won't open savings accounts or bank accounts for non-residents. So unless it's your bank that is offering a good deal on savings in the UK, if you have a UK bank account, then I'm afraid you can't utilise it. So for most people, the most important thing is, has anything happened in the Eurozone? And within Spain, no. Savings rates on deposits are still abysmally low, and I think they will continue that way.
Yeah, because of course, if you're in the Eurozone, that sets centrally the rates, the interest rates. Yeah. All right. Here's another note I made, because it kind of ties in with that as far as interest rates, because, okay, maybe eventually some benefits for savers, but if you've got a mortgage, then it could tip you over the edge if you were right at the, up to the limits as far as monthly payments go. What about changing? I did see a note about changing from the variable rate to fixed rate. How easy is that, or not?
It is quite easy. If you remember, I think it was about a year ago, I started telling people when I was on this programme that if they had a mortgage to look at fixing it, because at the time rates were very, very low that were being offered by banks, and you could fix it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years at a very, very low rate. Now, if you try to fix it, you're not going to get such a good deal because obviously the banks know interest rates are going to go up, so they're not going to offer to sell something where they're not going to make money. But you can still go to your bank because on a variable, if interest rates rise even more, which they will do towards the end of this year, beginning of next year, and then hopefully we'll see the end of that, then your mortgage is going to rise. And I know lots of people in the UK who are mortgaged at their limit, and any more interest rate rises are going to mean that they're going to have to sell their property and downsize. So it's having a huge impact. If you look at the UK housing market, demand has dropped by 15%, and also Bellway, the UK house builder, says sales for reservations for new builds have fallen by 12.4% since August, and that's a huge drop.
Yeah. I know time sort of flies by really quickly, but it only seems like there was the recovery and then they're building lots of properties and then suddenly it's upended again. There's not such a good period as there used to be, like the longer periods of growth and good times. Then it all goes the way of the pear again. That seems to be where we're at the moment. We were talking about a price correction in the housing market. Is that likely to be a thing anytime soon? Is that happening right now?
I think it's happening now. What's happening is sellers are still trying to put their houses on for the top price, but obviously with a reduction in buyers of 15%, it means that they're not getting those prices. So I think most sellers are putting their houses on at a premium, accepting that they're going to have to take a lower price when it comes to sell them, if they do sell them.
Okay, so that's where we're at, and it looks like we closed up quite a bit in the States yesterday. I know from Friday the Nasdaq fell down over 3%. It's made that back. Well, it looks in trading yesterday. So as you were, it was up 3.4%, and as you say, up a little bit so far this morning. Everything in Europe up over 1%, and back towards the 7,000 mark on the FTSE 100 in London. While you were talking about pensions a moment ago, getting on to final salary pensions, which is something we talked about over the years. Maybe not quite the thing it was a couple of years ago when you could do a whopping transfer, but still in the news as far as you're concerned. Yeah.
The other day I got a text message from a former colleague who lives in the UK about her Deutsche Bank, that's where we used to work, final salary pension. And she was in a panic. She said that she saw a UK advisor and he told her that the DB pension transfer value had fallen by over 250,000. What should she do? Well, the answer is nothing, because if you're keeping your final salary pension, its value is immaterial. It doesn't matter what the value is, your scheme will still pay you the same regular income in retirement exactly as it was before. So it doesn't matter if the value of your transfer value of your pot goes up, down, whatever, you will still always get the same pension. What it does affect is if you were going to transfer it out, obviously, because if you lost 250,000, what it will mean is that really the advice should be not to transfer your final salary pensions at the moment unless you've got a real compelling need to do it. Either you've got a terminal illness or you've got a life threat, something that's going to shorten your life expectancy, or you're single, you're not married and you've got no children and you want to take your pension pot. But otherwise, final salary pensions, if their value has decreased, it means no difference to what you will get at the end of the day. That is guaranteed. And that's as long as your employer still stays in business, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they're like a guarantee of your pension. If they go under, it falls under the pension schemes, and you are limited to a certain amount of income you can get a year. And the reason your pension value's fallen on final salary pensions is interest rates are rising, so pension schemes can get a better return on their assets, so they don't need so much money to finance the pension promise. So when interest rates were low, they had to say, because pension schemes hold a lot in cash, in gilts, in government bonds. So when interest rates were low, they had to hold back more money to pay out to you. So, and now those rates have gone up. That means they have to hold less in the pot. So if you've got a final salary pension and you're keeping it, it doesn't matter what the transfer value is. It's immaterial. It does affect you if you are going to transfer your pension, because, as I said, most pension pots have gone down, if not by a third, some of them even by half the transfer values. So if you were thinking of transferring your pension, you need to get a transfer value and see if it's still worthwhile doing it. Once you get a transfer value, they're usually valid for 3 months. And if you want another one within a year, you usually have to pay. And the cost for that is between £250 and £500 usually for a transfer value. And all it means is that people, you have to be careful. Most, at the moment, obviously, there's been a lot of turmoil in the markets, and most pension pots have decreased in value, whether in your final salary or if you're in a defined contribution scheme, or if you've got a private pension. But really, it doesn't affect you unless you are close to retirement age, because most people are either protected if you have a DB pension, or you've got time to ride out the market. If you're near to retirement, then obviously you haven't. You may need to amend your plans, say take less from your pension pot than you expected, and just wait for the current market crisis to ease. So that's pension. So if you have a final salary pension and you found out its transfer value has fallen, please don't panic. And if you were going to transfer it, obviously it has a big impact. But if you were going to leave it with the scheme, as I'd say 80% of people would, then it means nothing to you at all.
Yeah, you're still going to get it as a pension, as you say, that fixed amount. Is those the reasons why? I mean, we talked about it certainly a year or two ago, that it was quite a big thing. You could make a lot by doing the transfer. It's not so much now. Is that the reason?
No, because what happens is when people come to us, they say, like, my transfer value is 100,000, let's just say, and they're offering me, say before they were offering them an annual pension of, say, 1,500 per annum. Well, obviously, then that means you've got to live a long time to use up that pension pot. Yeah. However, if you're 50 and now you're coming with 100,000 and they say they're offering you, say, 5,000 a year, obviously there's no point to transfer it because you haven't got to live that long to use up your pension pot.
I see. Yeah, okay. And
so that's really what you look for, an enhanced transfer value, because what people were getting was something like, say they were 55, they were getting a transfer value which meant they had to live for another 65 years to use up their pension pot. Yeah. So they would have to be like 110, 120 to use it up. And most people aren't going to live, sorry to say this, but past their late 80s, early 90s.
Well, no,
so therefore it made sense to transfer them.
Sure. Okay, so that's where we're at with those. Now, you mentioned annuities. Let's talk about annuities. Actually, can you talk about annuities? Because I don't know what it's too hard. I can't understand it.
Annuity, you've got two types in the UK. You've got a temporary annuity and a whole life annuity. With a temporary annuity, you give up part of your pension pot to have a guaranteed income for between 3 and 5 years, and it's fixed. And it has a residual value in your pension. So it will say, right, for 3 to 5 years, you can have this pension, and it will mean you've got X amount left in your pension pot. If you have one of those, the Spanish treat it very, very favourably with regards to taxation on your income. Usually income tax is zero. And then you've got the whole of life annuity where you give up your whole pension pot in return for a guaranteed income for life. You can either do that on a sole life or a joint life. But what that means is if you only live for say 5 years and you die, your pension pot dies with you. There's nothing to leave to anyone else. Now, annuity rates at the moment are a 13-year high. The life annuity rate, if you're around about 55, is now 55 to 60 is about 5%, and it goes up according to your age. Mm-hmm. Whereas before we were looking at annuity rates of about 2%. So there's been a huge difference. However, I would say in an ideal world, you shouldn't put whole of your pension into an annuity, because still if you're getting 5 or 6%, it's well under what inflation is at the moment. But it is an alternative for part of your pension pot, either to do a temporary or a whole life annuity. So it's something maybe to look into. I think interest rates will rise more towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. So if you are thinking of buying an annuity, it might be worthwhile just holding off another 2 or 3 months to see what happens, because you can get another 1 or 2% on the rate they're guaranteeing you for life. It's worthwhile waiting.
Okay. Now we talk about diversifying, and you have all sorts of different investments. What sprung to mind? You know, when you come to Spain now, there's the different types of visas. The golden visa you'd be particularly aware of, I'm sure. It doesn't necessarily just mean a house worth 500,000 or more. You can buy like public debts. You can buy government bonds. I suppose they are. Do many people do that?
No.
There's lots of it to buy. There's lots of it to buy out there, of course, but it does count.
A tangible asset.
Yeah. But how does that work? I mean, do many people they don't get involved in that as part of portfolios?
No. I usually, when they're applying for visas, I hand them over to a visa specialist who will then talk them through the options, because the options you've got, if you don't spend it on property, they're obviously set down by the government.
Yeah.
So what you can invest in. So we have no say in that. But as I said, everyone I've spoken to who's gone for the golden visa has gone with buying a property.
Yeah, that would make sense. I just wondered if it was a thing, that's all. And also, just we're always you on, look out for scams and what sounds too good to be true, etc. This is a note I made from probably 4 weeks ago when we were last due on about owning casks of whiskey. As an investment, 8 to 18% return per annum they're on about there. How good does that sound to you?
Unless I had the barrel of whiskey in my possession, I'd say, I'd be very wary. It's like all the wine scams there used to be. You invest in wine, you're going to get rate return of 20, 30%. And when it came to it, there was no wine. So you have to be very, very careful with these schemes. Usually if they sound too good to be true, they are. I'd do a lot of research into it. Obviously they're not going to be regulated. You've got no right of recourse if they go wrong. So just be very, very careful. It's times like now when, inflation is high, savings can't keep up with inflation, investments, the market is in a bear market, that people are tempted by these types of schemes. And you do have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, I guess with that particular example, you're investing early on at something that gets more valuable the older it gets. It's the
if it's actually there. Yeah, if it's a reputable firm.
All right. So yes, do your research and just look out for what appears too good to be true. Christina will always tell you, and look out for phone calls and all that sort of thing. Anything else we need to add while we're here? I think we've covered a fair bit there.
Yeah, just to say to people, look, it all seems doom and gloom, but really there are some things on the horizon that could make life easier. As I said, interest rates, it's expected there'll be more rises at the end of the year, early 2023, and then hopefully we'll be at the end of the rate rises cycle, so that will help the markets. Also, shipping costs, house prices, and in general oil prices are beginning to reduce, so that will help reduce inflation into the new year. And energy packages like the Spanish government have brought in, and hopefully rest of Europe and the UK will help consumers. And also there's another thing. Since 1935, every time the S&P index, that's the American index, has fallen more than 20% in a calendar year, the following year it has been positive with an average return of around 25%. So I know it's been a challenging year, to say the least, for markets, and it's still going to be challenging, I reckon, for the rest of this year, beginning of next year. But if people haven't invested, it might be a good time to dip your toe in the market. Things are a lot cheaper than they used to be, and for those people that are invested, as we know, it's cyclical, so we should start to see an upturn towards the middle end of next year, and then hopefully we'll return to a bull market for a while.
Yeah, we do always say it's a long-term thing and don't panic, but sometimes that's easier said than done when you're watching things tank.
It is. It's much easier said than done. Yeah. It's just hold your nerve. If you do sell in a falling market, you're actually crystallising your loss. So you're actually making it a physical loss. If you ride it out, then obviously you're not. You've gone through the downturn and into the upturn. If you look at 2007, 2008, huge crash, quite a lot of people sold out. Lots of people got rich buying the stuff that people had sold. And if they'd waited 6, 12 months, their portfolios would have doubled in value or more than than that. So it is just ride it out, just be there. And if you're looking at things in the markets, there's an electrical car company in China I haven't heard of, which is BYD Co. And it's China's biggest electric car maker. And its third quarter profits have quadruples, and it exceeds its sales leads over Tesla. So its market is growing and growing. They're saying that 20% of cars have sold in China over the next year or so are going to be electric, which is a huge market. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're looking at stocks and shares. One thing to get rid of is Credit Suisse, the beleaguered Swiss bank. It's going to place its UK asset management arm up for sale. It has huge problems. It's had money laundering scandals. It's had various other things. So Credit Suisse at the moment is not looking a good bet.
Wow.
And just a quirky bit of news, I was looking on the health and pharmaceutical side on Reuters, and for all the women out there that use hair straighteners, please be very, very careful. There's been a large study done, and it says if you use hair straighteners frequently, it does significantly increase the risk of developing uterine cancer. The rate goes up from 1.6%, which it normally is, to over 4%. Just a bit of non-finance related news there.
Blimey.
But if you have got shares in hair straighteners, that could affect that company's stocks and shares and their price for a while.
Did it explain why? I can't see the link there. Maybe it's something giving
it's
off.
on Reuters. The whole study's there if someone wants to look at it.
Yeah, there's further reading there for sure. Let's not get into it now. Okay. Well,
no, but that was just some by-the-side news.
Yeah.
But as I said, at the moment the markets are low. As you looked at the S&P, everything's down.
But not today. If we're looking up rather than down,
No.
everything's up, and the euro to sterling's over 115. Let's hats on the side of our head, and we're looking positive here.
Yeah, FTSE's gone over 7,000.
It has just 7,005.
Even Bitcoin's up 1%.
Yes, it is. It's gone back up today. I'm watching that as it goes. Checking in my wallet.
That's a bit worrying for people that had Bitcoin. But as I said, when you put your money in there, you were taking a gamble. You've just got to hold your nerve. And and people are saying stock markets are set for a boom towards the end of 2023. It could take a bit longer, but as you know, it is cyclical. Things will come back up again. So please just hold tight.
All right. Anything we've talked about, especially your pension stuff, that sort of thing, you can get in touch with Christina and Blacktower. So blacktowerfm.com is the website if they want to come to you directly.
If you need anything, you can always email info@blacktowerfm.com. If you put for the attention of Christina or BayRadio, someone will call you and it will come through to me. Or as Moody said, go to our website, fill in a contact form, again put Christina or BayRadio, and we'll look at it. And it's not just for the Costa Blanca. We cover the whole of Spain, the Balearics, the Canary Islands. We got offices in the Canary Islands. We also cover the whole of Europe, so France, Italy, Germany, Portugal, Netherlands, UK, and the Americas. So if you have any questions at all, if you get in touch, we will come back to you and we will try and help you.
Portugal's really creeping up, isn't it, as far as people moving there and helping
US,
visitors?
yes, it's seen a phenomenal increase in US people moving there. What the Portuguese government did was it introduced the golden visa a lot sooner than Spain, and also they've got very, very exceptionally good deals on tax on pensions. So if you're a pensioner, moving to Portugal at the moment is very, very a very good idea if you've got a larger pension, because the tax rates are very, very low.
Yeah, all right, something to keep an eye on. All right, well, thanks ever so much for your time. We wish you, hope you get better soon. I bet you, with your ear trouble, I bet you're doing that thing, sort of banging the side of your head and rattling your finger around in your ear.
Yes.
Come on, clear.
Yep.
Need to hear stuff.
And it sounds like echoey when you tap your head. It's quite weird.
Oh, it's like that. Yes, I know that feeling. All right, well, as I say, you're on the road to recovery, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks' time, all being well.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks ever so much for your time. Right, blacktowerfm.com, the website, for all the details. And we'll talk in a fortnight's time here.
Listening and exceeding expectations for over 31 years. Blacktower Financial Management, the team you want by your side. Visit blacktowerfm.com.